Alright, today after work I finished up southern United Kingdom and Wales. Basically southern England, Britain, and Wales along this path. Minus Chester. I think that's Chester. Yes. I guess how you say that. Gillingham. That's how you say that. It's pronounced with a soft G, as in ginger. Gillingham. I think this is called Suffolk Nature Reserve. It's a beautiful coastline. It looks kind of like puke on my graphics, but all these graphics kind of look cartoony, so that's a good representation of it. The game. I can still adapt. I haven't really done shit to my coastal hills as far as like really working on them like I have some of the other terrain files, so they'll get better regardless. White Cliffs of Dover, all the way over to Eastbourne. Lighthouse. This landmark is somewhat bittersweet in regards to the history that is behind these cliffs, these chalky cliffs made of calcium lime. Not only is it a beautiful sight to observe, both in photograph and I'm sure in person, but it's also a hot spot for suicides. People jump off these cliffs to commit suicide. So much so that it's become sort of a secondary identity to that geographic location. It's sad. There's so much more to life than the expectations of others. Look at me. If you look at my perspective, if you try to see things through my perspective with your ideologies in place, you may say, wow, his life is fucking shit, like that sucks, and he's not going nowhere, and a waste of life. If you look at my position in society, my position on the economic scale, my position in various other areas of comparison to others statistically, it doesn't look too appealing on a chart, but I'm optimistic. How do I invest my time into something I enjoy? I make my life worth living. I put a purpose to pleasure and enjoyment on a personal level of satisfaction. I could dwell over my failures and shortcomings and efforts that never came to fruition outside of this pursuit, but instead I focus on my record of excellence in my dieting and training in the gym, and my record of never missing a workout or a meal. I focus on my game, the fact that I have a large quantity of time to study and develop this game further. Not many people that play this game have that opportunity. I do, and I'm grateful for that, and I take advantage of it, and I am happy to do what I do with this game. I'm grateful that I work with my dad and my brother. I'm grateful that I get to see my mother every day. I'm grateful that I get to endure the bickering and bitching and complaining of my grandmother on a daily basis, and that is a joke. I say that lightheartedly. I love my grandmother very much. I enjoy the fact that I'm confident. I have good self-esteem. Not many people do, and if you don't, then this rewinding and listening to what I just said over the course of the last 2 or 3 minutes might be something that you want to do, because there are other options available that are far better, and far more beneficial to you and society overall than taking a dive off of a cliff to bring a premature end to your life. And that is where I'll leave that. Otherwise, I adjusted my world market files. I brought that coal production up in England now that I got the bulk of the major, probably all of the major existing coal mines and surface mines now on my map. I adjusted the output of said facilities, and in doing that I also had to adjust the output of how much electric power each or how much the coal facilities consume for the world market and for regional economic data. So now the coal-fired power plants consume more coal because the coal mines now produce more coal, and industrial goods also consume about 2 point like twice as much as they did before, in a nutshell, without having to think too hard about the math. Population use went up based on this chart that I have discovered. It's credited there and there. I use this chart as a breakdown to decide how I wanted to design the world market files through the decades, because I have 4 different world market files attached to my game, and they bridge from one to another. So in the first set, it follows this pattern, which is basically the World War I era, and that is how I break it down in the world market data, using rough percentages, knowing the population of England, and then taking into consideration the amount of tons per coal used, how many millions of tons of coal were used per category, and then doing that quick guesstimate of, okay, there's approximately 40 million people in London or in England, United Kingdom in 1936. So there are approximately 40 million tons of coal being used by domestic, which is the internal population. So we say each person is using so many odd tons of coal to hit that number, and that's what you got. So that's how I adjusted my world market data, and that will increase for electric into the Cold War era, then drop off in the modern era. It'll decrease for industrial goods use as time progresses gradually, well, steeply at the end of the Cold War era, and then it'll basically maintain a very low use data for the remainder of playable game. Population will take a drop off at the end of the Cold War era, and then it'll kind of stay at a very low marker as well. Coal is pretty much like they say, only used for electric, what remains of the coal-fired power plants in this world and whatnot, which is good and good and great. Coal's a nasty substance to work with. It's a nasty substance to work with. It requires a ton of it to use for the creation of energy, and the world will be a better place if we don't have to use it as much. Although it's very useful. That said, now that I got all that data adjusted, I'm going to use that as a model. This annual production will go up. This is the supply model right now, which will get better because I have all these different facilities that generate all this different amount of supply. So London will have the potential to reach 100% supply, and that will affect the supply lines in its vicinity, and all these other major cities that have all the necessary establishments there to achieve that supply model 100% will also get that bonus, and that will affect all these major supply lines, and eventually that'll reach out to the coal production sites. And whereas this has only got 44% supply right now, that'll probably go up to 80%, 85%, and in turn this production will also go up. So I didn't bring the world market data up, or the facility data up to the point where it would meet exact numbers as far as the UK's coal production in 1936, because the supply model is going to adjust, and the supply is going to affect the production, and that number is going to go up. So I figured I tripled it for now. I'll see where that goes, and if it gets close to that 227 million ton mark, then I know I've got a base to work off of that will be a valid base to then model every other country's coal mining infrastructure off of. It's a lot to take in, and I'm not the best at explaining it in a nutshell, in words. I'd be better at writing it, but I chose to talk for this video, so that's what you got. Long story long, everything's coming along well. England's almost done, UK is almost done, and I'm going to touch up some of their colonies, and as I'm going through and I find the need to use additional terrain elements, I'm also improving those as well, and everything is coming together nice and good. Oh, I got a bunch of events coming in there. The Queen Elizabeth Bridge will go here in 66. Yeah, it's 1966. There's going to be some wind power going here at Great Yarmouth. Yarmouth, I don't know how they say that. I'm going to shoot for 2005. I had no idea exactly when they decided they were going to do wind power there, but I'm going to go with modern, somewhat modern era, 2005. I took away these oil rigs. I still left the complexes there because I'm just going to write events that established the rigs there when they were actually established there. I still got to do the Irish Sea. I think this is all the Irish Sea. I still got to remove them and then write events for them to go back in place. And then there's a major refinery going to be established here. I have all that data already laid out. I also picked up data on power upgrades in Wales. Jamaica Airfield, I already got that. What was it? Oh, here we go. United Kingdom petrol refineries. Lindsay, Eastham, Midland, Esso, Richfield. That's the big one. That's the Actually, the largest onshore oil site in Europe. Pretty exciting to me. Alright, calling it. Have a good one.